breathe that in. Our theme this month is availability. And I've been reminding us every week that availability has these three components. It has accessibility, attention, and intention. Accessibility, attention, and intention. And I noticed that when my spirit voice speaks to me, it understands that I've been mentally colonized and trained in Western thinking, and that it will help to turn me around if you give me a formula, give me a path, give me like something to do, break it down for me in a way that I can understand. Not that I get stuck in the formula, but it's to transcend the formula. So if you just say to me, make yourself more available, I may not know what to do. But if you say, hey, watch what you're accessible for, mind where your attention is, and purify your intention, then you're giving me something to do. So it becomes a little litmus test for myself to keep me honest about how available I am or not. Because I may think that I am, but when I ask myself those questions, am I really accessible? Does that really have my attention? And is my intention that way? Is everything that I am doing, my words, my deeds, my actions, and all that, moving in that direction? You'll hear me speak of this often because as human beings, we have that extraordinary capacity to be at cross purposes, where we can think one thing, feel something else, do something else, say something else, simultaneously, and that diffuses our energy. It's like we have our foot on the gas and we have our foot on the brake. And our big challenge on this spiritual journey is to pull it all together, to bring it all into alignment so that we're single-eyed, we're single-focused, that we're moving in the direction that our heart's desire is moving in. We sabotage ourselves with our inconsistency. We sabotage ourselves by the distraction and the diversions. And we're living in a time now where that's the paradigm, that concept of the pop-up. Have you ever been online doing something and something catches your attention and 2 or 3 things down later, you forget what you were doing? This kind of multi-consumerism and multitasking. What are we available for? Because the marketeers out there know that we're available to have our attention diverted. Listen to what I just said. They know we are available to have our attention diverted. So we have to make conscious effort, we have to make conscious choice about what it is we're available for. Specifically today, it's about being available for what's next. There's a Sufi story about a king who called his magic people together. And he wanted them to create something that simultaneously would bring him great joy and great sorrow. So they thought about it for a moment, and they made him a ring. And inscribed inside of this ring was the phrase, "This too shall pass." This too shall pass. Brought him great joy, and it also brought him great sorrow. this journey that we're on. And life is a journey. It's a journey. It's not a destination. I didn't know that. I spent most of my young life thinking life was a destination. I wasn't even sure where the destination was, but I was in a hurry to get there. It reminds me of a bumper sticker that I saw, not that I ascribed to this, but it sort of showed the fallaciousness of it. It said, "He who dies with the most toys wins." And I'm like, wins what? You're dead. And everybody else is playing with your toys. What? This being available to what's next, it's the journey. I can't emphasize that enough. That moment I realized that I didn't love life. I loved being alive, but I didn't love life. I was angry with life, with the process of life itself, its unpredictability. It was hostile towards me. And I was always having to hedge against it and try to get ahead of it because like there was something out there that was going to get me, which was extra enforced by the theological upbringing that I had. And I'm not trying to condemn my roots. I'm being honest about my own self and my own spiritual journey and what it's taken me to get spiritually available. So I was taught there was a war and that we were in this constant war, this constant battle between good and evil. It was very dualistic. No matter how much people said there was one God, there wasn't one God. There were two gods. There was a God of good and there was a God of evil. And these two were always duking it out and using human beings as pawns to like prove how powerful they were. And we're being moved around on this chessboard of life. Now, I understand now how we got there, understanding the Judeo-Christian tradition and how it was influenced by Roman Greco mythology. I get that, this kind of way that we're thinking about all of this, but it didn't make me love life. I believe it was Einstein that said, one of the most important choices you'll ever make in your life is whether you think the universe is friendly. And that's a choice. Do you think the universe is friendly towards you? And that's huge. It's like before you not really ask yourself, do you really believe that life is for you? That life supports you? That life wants the best for you? That life is not being Santa Claus, making a list, checking it twice, trying to find out if you're naughty or nice. You know, that there's a presence, an essence that you're a part of, fundamentally. And I remember how liberating it was for me, how extraordinarily liberating it was. Now, I'm not trying to say that there's no evil in the world, but what we think of as evil is not a separate entity. It's not a different energy force. It's just how the one power that we all have is being used. You can't find evil without people. There's no evil without people. You can't walk out in nature and find evil. Evil is just what people do when they don't know they're a part of nature. Evil is what people do when they don't know who they are. Evil is not a sign of goodness or badness. It's the evidence of ignorance. Ignorance. Okay. So I want you to listen to this now. When you are judging people for all of their off-centeredness, sins, evil, whatever that is, betrayal, lying, blah, 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 whatever that is, they done me wrong. They're in a state of spiritual amnesia. They don't remember who they are. Don't collude. Don't collude. They have forgotten who they are. Don't you forget. Do you feel that? Don't you forget. Somebody up in here got to remember. You know, somebody up in here has got to set something new into motion. Somebody up in here has to recalibrate. Because here's the thing. If you forget who they are in spirit, you've got to have a bit of spiritual amnesia yourself. And all of that impacts our availability because we have our attention on the wrong things. We become accessible to the wrong things. What's next requires that you love life. Just breathe that in for a moment. George Washington Carver, it's African American History Month, was one of the most prominent scientists in the United States. He loved the peanut in particular and found literally 1,000 different things you could do with the peanut. And a lot of the technologies we're learning now about how to make energy sources out of vegetables, he'd already figured that out, decades ago. He had, I forgot what it was. It was something scoliosis or something like that. So he couldn't run around and play and the rest of that, but he really got into the mental sciences. And he said, when he was asked, how did you come up with all this stuff with the peanut? And he said, whatever you love enough reveals its secrets to you. Whatever you love enough reveals its secrets to you. The foodies in the house, you know what I'm talking about. If you love cooking, the spices will talk to you. The artist, you love art, it will reveal its music, dance, it will reveal its secrets to you. Children, they will reveal their secrets to you. The body, whatever it is. Do you feel what I'm saying? But in actuality, it really isn't so much that they're revealing their secrets as it is you're not feeling separate from them. You're feeling one with them. And in the oneness, all is revealed. So when you get confused about something, that's not the time to get angry with it. When you're feeling out of sorts or estranged from something, that's not the time to judge it. The way to understanding is through love. The way to understanding is more connection, not less. More estrangement has never made you feel closer to somebody. Now, I'm not saying that you might not have needed a little space, like a little physical distance to clear your mind or whatever that is, but that's not estrangement. You hear me often say, don't confuse boundaries and borders. See? A border is designed to keep things away, to keep things separate. But when you create boundaries in relationships, it's for the purpose of remaining engaged. That's why you create the boundary, like a rule of engagement. We need to have it this way, this way, this way, so that I can stay connected with you. But we turn our boundaries into borders. These parameters. And what happens with those borders? To keep other people out, it keeps you in. We're often not available for what's next because we have erected all of these walls. Because we don't trust that life is friendly. Because we don't trust that we're resilient. Because we don't trust that no matter what it is that happens, the universe goes towards restoration. The universe goes towards healing. And I'm going to come out on the other side because this too shall pass. It'll pass. When we become available for what's next, we have to pry our fingers off of what we have. We want what's next, and we want to hold on to what we have. We want what's next. We want to grow, but we don't want to change. We want to transform, but we don't want to change. When we become available for what's next, what I have grown to appreciate is that you have what you need at every step of the way. Listen to that. You have what you need at every step of the way. Most of us are holding out. We want to see the whole vision. We want to see the whole picture, bring it into manifestation before I release. So let me tell you about this release. The release is an inside job. Let's make this concrete. Let's say it's something like a house or an apartment or someplace that you live. Have you ever been in that situation where you've been talking about like you want to move, but there's something within you that's like holding on to everything that's there? And you're coming up with all the excuses of why it's a bad time, or it's going to cost too much, or, it's too much work, and, where am I going to go? And I'm busy talking about, yep, I'm ready to move. But there's all this energy that's about stay here. Any witnesses? Okay. This could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be anything. But do you feel that kind of cross purposes? And have you ever gotten to that place where in your heart you released it? Not out of anger, not because it wasn't working, not because it was a bad thing. Could be a job, could be a house, could be a car, could be anything. But the moment we get into that, it's okay not to have this one anymore. And I'm not going to die, and I'm not going to starve, and I'm not going to be lonely all the rest of my life. Where we get into a healthy kind of curiosity about what else can there be. And what happens when we get into that vibration? Stuff opens up. Yeah. It's there. But we have to do that internal shift first. And even if we're not in a conscious, deliberate, I want to move, I no longer want to be here, being available for what's next will always keep you fresh, will always keep you renewed, will keep you in the yes, will keep you receiving your blessings. Because no matter how much you have, God's trying to give you more. Trying to give you more joy, more connectivity, more peace, more love, more expansion, more creativity, more collaboration, more everything that is your heart's desire. So we need to stay in a consciousness of next. Do you feel that? A consciousness that is open to evolution, that is open to growth, that is open to expansion, so that every single day, in the Tao Te Ching, basically the Bible of Taoism by Lao Tzu, I love this line where he says, every day in the pursuit of knowledge, something is added. Every day in the practice of the Tao, something is dropped. In the pursuit of knowledge, something is added. In the practice of the Tao, that'd be like practicing the presence of the divine. Every day, something is dropped. Can you feel the difference in that? So I used to wake up every day with that attaining mentality, trying to get more, be more, have more, whatever that was, especially in my 20s. I'm Century City and, got my big office on the 39th floor of the Twin Towers of Century City, like the triangular towers, and, wheeling and dealing in these, multi-$100 million transactions and all of the rest of that. And, it was some heady stuff. I wasn't dropping anything. No. It's like more and more. I wasn't even dropping relationships. I was just piling one on top of each other. No, nothing dropping here. And now I have a whole different mindset, where every day I am hoping not to go to bed the person that woke up. Every day, it's my intention to break through some illusion, some false paradigm, some place of attachment that was keeping me stuck. Now I want to be shown wrong. I didn't want to be wrong before. Now it's show me where I'm off. correct me. I don't even have to know. I pray that 23rd Psalm, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Where the rod is that instrument that the shepherd uses to keep away the predators, to beat off the wolves. And I don't know where we got this mixed up about spare the rod and spoil the child meant beat the child. The shepherd's not beating the sheep with the rod. It's like keep away the influences that are going to be detrimental to the child. Lest the child be badly influenced by that. That's your job as the parent. Don't beat the child with the rod. Thy rod, and the staff is that hook. That hook that brings them back into the fold. Because they're notorious for wandering off and following each other and getting into places that they can't get out of because they can't go side to side or back up. So my prayer is now, I don't even have to know. Universe, you've got carte blanche. I'm off. Bring me back. I'll figure it out later. Don't let me stew in it till I can figure it out. If I'm off, boom. Let's get me back on. Because that's what I'm available to now. See? I'm available to be corrected. I'm available to be put back on course. As a community, we're at this big spot of being available to what's next. We've been open for 22 years, and there's something big happening. The fact that we'll be physically moving is just the material evidence of something else. It's like the physical move isn't it. It's a context for something, but that's not the content of what it means for us to be moving. It's like inner light next. It's time now to recalibrate. It's time to regroup. It's time to reopen. It's time to reorganize. It's time to break it open. It's time for new energy. It's time for new people. It's time for new technologies. It's just time to be responsive to the now, to the next. It's like the next generation. After 22 years, it's like another generation now. There's something else, and I don't just mean like another generation of young people. Like that's true too, but there's the next iteration, so to speak. Like what comes after this? And it is exciting, and I'm asking all of you, and even those of you who are online, and we'll give you ways that you can participate in that too, of helping to discern what that is and what that means to be moving forward. We had a couple of weeks ago, I guess it's 3 weeks now, the office is flooded in the building next door. And I come in on a Sunday morning, and I was there pretty late the Saturday before, and it was fine. And the water came from underneath. It's a long story, but literally the water, not a broken pipe, but it had been so saturated in the neighborhood, a tree had fallen, and the creek here, the water couldn't go out to the sea. So it had backed up in the neighborhood. We actually weren't as bad as some of the neighbors here on Monterey. But everything had to get torn up. It's ripped out now. All the baseboards and all the walls and whatnot are open, and they're still drying out. And we had to pack up everything and get out. Furniture, like everything, complete floor had up, right? So I still don't have like an office, technically speaking. And as you go in the social hall, you'll see all our furniture. Most of the furniture is like over there, like all stacked on top of each other. And I looked at it and I thought, we're moving. We're moving. We're not going to put new carpet down. There's a little like slab thing that's there. We're just going to like polish that up like a little bit. But I want you to get what I'm saying here is that once your heart really releases and becomes available, the universe like pushes you along. And you get tested. Are you really ready? How many of you get that? Oh, wait a minute, that's a little bit too fast. You said something that was a little bit too too fast. At some point, I realized when these carpets were being pulled up that my affirmation for, I don't know, a couple of years has been, the floodgates are open. And we are living in the overflow. And then I find out a couple of weeks later, it'd been raining in here in the sanctuary. There was water down back behind the sanctuary on the floor. But once again, you could see it wasn't coming in from like the outside. But there wasn't any reason for it to be coming up from the bottom. And I thought, well, maybe that's still what's happening. But as I was checking the walls and how wet the walls were, so up, back behind us here, up over this ceiling is an attic. And there's a flat roof. And somehow with all these high winds, the roof, the latch to the roof came off. So it has been raining straight down into the attic, down 2 stories of walls, down to the bottom. Yeah, past the right at the electrical room. And all of that. And it was, yeah. And not long before that, Jamie Lula had been here. And I'm not saying this is the cause, but it is funny. So Russell texted me. I was out of town. He said, call the construction companies. We blew the roof off. And I texted, the fire department's on the way. So as I'm doing the trace up there, and I open up to where the attic is, it's usually dark. It's maybe 10 stairs up, and then essentially like a mezzanine floor. And then there's maybe another 6 steps that's built in where this trap door is. So when I opened it up, I'm looking at the sky. And I was mesmerized. It wasn't raining at that moment, and it wasn't like clicking in what had actually happened. I just was looking at this square, and I was looking at the sky, and I was mesmerized. It only later was like, oh, it's raining in here. It is. But as I was looking at that, I heard that spirit voice say, because this is a phrase that's used in the New Thought movement a lot about our theology. It said, you're open at the top. That even the sky is no limit. And I will rain down upon you your blessings. That will go all the way down and cleanse and purge and water even the lowest levels. And, you know, this is being vulnerable, but I'm being honest about it. My ex-wife's office was where it flooded in the music room, so her office and my office were the ones that got hit the most. And I still got a little energy when I go in there. I'm just being honest. But that voice said, I've come and cleaned even that out. And our signature song was Waters of Living Grace. It says, I am bringing down the waters of the living grace. And it just went on and on about so above and so below, that I am cleansing you from above here and have cleaned you out in the other building from below. It just went on and on and on. But if I did what most of us do, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening now? You know, the victim thing. No. Life is for me. Life is working for me. What's happening here, that's for me. What's happening here, that's for us. Can you feel that? And it was like, okay, I'm available for whatever's next. I'm available for this thing, like whatever it is. And I'm going to end on this story. I know I've told it many times. But when Isaac did his spoken word piece, right before I spoke, this came up for me so strongly. I'll be quick about it. So some of you might be familiar, or at least heard, the term of Peter or St. Peter. Peter was one of Jesus' disciples. And there's this image of St. Peter as this like wise man who's sitting at the pearly gates of heaven kind of thing. Peter was a name change. His name was Simon. And he wasn't some wise something. He was the original simple Simon. He was so slow that his nickname was Stone. They called him Stone. Jesus had a couple of sets of brothers amongst his disciples. And Simon was Andrew's brother. So when Jesus meets him, he says, you're Andrew's brother. I know who you are. They call you Kepha, which means stone. So in the end days, when Jesus is preparing for what's next, his whole ministry was just 3 years. That's extraordinary. 3 years, all that up and out. And he's like, y'all got it. And he's quizzing them to see the depth of what they believe and what they know and what they understand. And he asked them, who do you think I am? And they're coming up with all these different things. And some say you're Elijah returned. Some say this or that. And so simple Simon just looks at him and says, well, I think you're the Christ. Christ is a designated name, or like the teacher, like someone who understands their connectedness with the divine. That's who I think you are. The Son of the living God. This Son is like likeness in character. Like you're a representation of the living God. That's what I think. And Jesus looks at him and says, book knowledge couldn't give you this. Book knowledge couldn't give you this. You've tapped into something. And then Jesus does this switch. He says, they call you a stone, but you're really a rock. Peter, petroleum, rock. In Greek, Peter means rock. He says, they call you a stone, but you're really a rock. And upon this rock, upon this simple Simon consciousness of understanding that God is expressing itself in and through and as us, not just in one person, but is here and available to that. And upon this consciousness, I will build my church. Not an institution. Jesus did nothing to establish an institution. Nothing, nada, nada. Institutional stuff didn't even happen until like centuries after he was dead. That Greek word church, ecclesia, just means community. It literally just means the spiritual people. Upon this simple Simon consciousness, I will build my church. Inner light is built on this simple Simon consciousness. Not that you got to know a lot, not that you have to do this thing or that thing, but just this awareness. And Jesus said, they will know you are my disciples by what? By your love. Your love. This love that I was talking about, that when you love stuff, it reveals its secrets to you. When you love it, you're connected. When you love it, you're whole with it. And that's fundamentally what we are about, is the love. I can hear my mother now, Miss Pentecostal. When she talks about inner light, she goes, "Ooh, girl, you ain't seen nothing like them." She said, they work. Everybody just shows up and works, and woo, the love. Woo, you feel the love. She don't think a whole lot about our theology, but she's a real Christian. She knows the love. Are you with me? She knows when people are worshiping God. She knows when people are being of service. Yes? And this is not a plug for Christianity, because this transcends and supersedes all of that. What I am saying is that we're going somewhere as a community. And it's not about a building. We will have a place, yes, but it's about us. And it's open at the top. It's not reserved, in, out. Anybody who wants to be in it is in it. And it is an open invitation for everybody in this room now to join us, like in a few minutes or wherever it is that you are, to be a part of this great just unfoldment, because it's not just us. We're here in proxy. For every person in a seat here, there are hundreds of thousands of people around the world who are moving in this same direction of spiritual fulfillment, environmental sustainability, and social justice. And we're just here to do our little part in our neck of the woods, yes? Yes, indeed. Oh, let us pray. Let us pray. As the psalmist says, create in us a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within us. Create in us a clean heart. Wash us, purge us, cleanse us, purify us. In this moment right now, we dare to stand naked. We're not hiding behind anything. We're not hiding behind social identity, bank account, relationship, nothing. Just as I am, I come. With all the shortcomings and idiosyncrasies and ways in which we've missed the mark, we come. We lay ourselves upon the altar. Use us. Use us to heal, to serve, to care, to uplift, to empower, to restore, to create, to rejoice, to celebrate, to teach, to support, to nurture. We're here. And in this moment right now, we choose to change the narrative. Anything that we're holding on to about why not us, about why not now, about boundaries and borders, estrangement, divisiveness, otherness, we lay it down. And we open up wide to receive the blessings. It's all around us. Thank you, God, for waking us up this morning. We don't take that for granted. Oh, no. Thank you for restoring our body temples. Thank you for making a way out of seeming no way time and time again, for putting food on the table and a roof over our head. Thank you for relationships and companionship, for guidance and direction, and for opportunities. Thank you for evolution. How individually and collectively we're moving into our greater yet to be. The skins are worn out. You can't put new wine into old skins. It's effervescent, it's growing, it's expansive. Give us new skins. Enlarge our territory. I ain't talking about real estate. The prayer of Shabbat is enlarge our territory so we can have the capacity to shine more for the divine. Up our wattage. Up our circuitry. So that more can flow in, through, and as us. I know, Mother, Father, God, whatever you have for this ministry, we humbly say thank you for bringing us for such a mighty long way. And we know that we are here for such a time as this. Thank you for all needs met. Those sloughing off the mortal coil, go with God's speed. For all the things that seem to be shifting and changing, we say thank you for all that you've brought us. And we welcome in whatever's next. Even if what's next isn't new. We're open. It is good, it is done, it is finished. We get out of the way, we allow it to be, and so it is.